It seems to be that we achieve advanced states of consciousness through hypnosis, which has certainly been my experience in terms of everything I've studied in regards to spirituality and the letting go, the pathway of surrender technique. Because even right now, I catch myself with certain data or information that's stored in the subconscious. So the projection that I made for a good deal of time was that that information was in my conscious mind, and it was teaching me and taking me to a place where I could become spiritual, become enlightened, have high levels of consciousness experiences, and that the actual reality of it is how I see now that that information actually was going on in my subconscious mind. So that's why consciously it's so difficult to find a spiritual teacher, educator, leader um, who can actually be that one, because that's not it. I say that it's David R. Hawkins, but it's not David R. Hawkins. You can learn and study from David R. Hawkins, but it's not David R. Hawkins that is creating the experience of the hypnotic experience. And that is why what I noticed was there is always, and even within me, even though I'm very peaceful, very benign, I don't have a lot of animal tendencies, I'm quite aware of what I do and say. There's a left brain and a right brain. Um, I own the silence within myself, um, etc. Um, Actually, though, as powerful, you see, the data becomes scrambled and skewed because I feel like I have to quote it. I have to serve it. I have to speak for it. I have to make references as if it's a scientific investigation. And the experience I had, even though objective, uh, the experience I had was very subjective, and actually it had nothing. It was going on in my subconscious. I'm very attached to the personage of David R. Hawkins, and so it's been difficult for me to admit to myself, like I'm admitting now, that all of this information, I mean, this experience, really came from hypnosis, perhaps being hypnotized by myself, but then attributing it to David R. Hawkins. See? So now the good news is I found the capacity within myself to be able to have that incredible spiritual experience of peace and bliss. And I borrow some of his terminologies, like as a descriptive viewpoint, to describe it, to call it a meltingness or a radiance. Um, but it just so happened that my experience matched up with his program, so to speak, for lack of a better word. So I'm letting go of my attachment to that personage, and I'm going to finish translating the book I wrote in that deep, 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 deep hypnotic state onto a computer, and then yeah, and that will be printed out. It's called Letters to the Moon. So, um, that's where it's at.